Will Anderson Jr. and the Houston Texans head to Nashville to take on Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. Now, whatever happens with Houston's season, if it does turn into a team that resembles a playoff opportunity for them in January, they're going to have to give a bunch of credit to Davis Mills, leading a 19-point fourth quarter comeback. Third and goal from the 14-yard line. He runs it in for the score to essentially set up that game winner for the Texans. That was an incredible performance from him in the fourth quarter. This Houston team is playing really good defense. Now, what was lost in that performance was actually a defense that struggled at times against Jacksonville. Now, they allowed less than 4 yards a carry. Jacksonville only 95 yards on the day. Trevor Lawrence did struggle, but Houston needs to be a team right now with the way they're playing on offense. You take away last week dropping 36. It was just a weird type of game. They kind of need to only allow about 20 points. You would think in this game against Tennessee that 22 points should be enough to beat the Titans and Cam Ward. They had 5 sacks of Trevor Lawrence. That was spectacular. Cam Ward is being sacked at a historic clip. The last time that we saw Cam Ward take action, it was against the Chargers. He got sacked 4 times, which was about on pace with where he has been sacked on the season. This Texans pass rush is gearing up to have a career-type day for this. This was a guy that got sacked, 9 times against Denver. This is a game against the Texans where he might get sacked something like 7, 8 possibly. Danielle Hunter, 3.5 sacks, 4 tackles for loss against the Jaguars. A mobile quarterback in Trevor Lawrence trying to scramble around. I was very in line thinking that they were going to run the football against Houston and protect their quarterback. They did exactly that, establishing balanced a little bit more towards the rushing side of it. Lawrence with 5 carries on the day actually did have a nice day with 35 rushing yards. Unfortunately, Cam Ward doesn't have the ability to sort of supplant some rushing yards that you might be able to have, so he likely is going to have a tough time moving the football on this Texans secondary. Jacksonville rushed the ball 27 times, and they threw it 23. That's the type of balance you want to have against Houston so that you can keep that pass rush at bay. Now, for the Titans, unfortunately, they don't really have that effective of a run game. Against the Chargers, it was a very sloppy day. They sacked Justin Herbert 6 times, and the caveat there is that the Chargers might have the worst offensive line in the league, right up there with Tennessee right now because of the injuries that they've had to their 2 tackles, now losing Alt for the season. So the whole season's available for Houston right now. They saved their year. If they dropped to 3-6, you would have put them dead and buried. But now a game on the road against their rival, and you're thinking, okay, here you get a win against the Titans. You're 5-5 on the season, and you're right there. And the whole back half of the season could get very exciting for Texans fans. A lot of important matchups to come. Now, where do I see success for the Texans offensively in this game? Again, they haven't, if you're a Titan fan, you probably are aware that they haven't had Joe Mixon in the backfield the entire season. Maybe he returns towards the end of the season. They're looking for a return for him. But it's Nico Collins. This man, despite seeing cloud coverage and being double teamed essentially just about every other snap. 15 targets, 7 catches, 136. Davis Mills is forcing the ball to him. Now, the status of the quarterback for the Texans, right? CJ Stroud, of course, with the injury to him, he does look like he will play in this game. That's very important to have Stroud back in the lineup. It's just the possibility of winning this game is probably 20% higher with him playing. I know they got a great defense, but with Stroud, the efficiency, the stability of their starting quarterback, that really helps you. Dalton Schultz, he's wide receiver 2, essentially. He's target number 2 in this Texans offense. They haven't had the success before last week where Jaden Higgins came alive with a touchdown, 5 catches, 42 yards. The other Iowa State rookie, Jalen Knoll, 4 catches for 35. I mean, you saw the Iowa State rookies play the type of football that you were looking for from them. You weren't necessarily believing that those guys would be going off for 100 yards and a touchdown combined a game, but having that type of production and another target for the quarterback, that really helps, and they need exactly that. I think this is another big day from Collins. The Titans will obviously try and take him away, but then again, these rookies having a bit more experience now, adjusting to the play speed of the NFL, compare that to the Big 12, it's a bit of a difference going up against Big 12 defenses like Kansas, Kansas State, Colorado, instead of going up against defenses that include guys on that Jacksonville secondary that actually are pretty good. A great linebacker in Devin Lloyd in the middle there. That pass rush with Armstead in the middle, the run stuffer. And you've got Allen, Josh Hines Allen, and not Hargrave, but Trayvon Walker. So there's a bit of a difference between the Big 12 and the NFL. I think that in the middle here of this Texans defense with Alshire playing, the same type of football that you'd expect from him, he presents a challenge for Cam Ward. I think this is a 1-2 turnover day for sure from Cam Ward. Again, this has been a receiving core from him that is not at all performed. The injuries to Calvin Ridley on the season, you thought he'd be going into the year being the clear-cut number one target for him. He'd be huge, but without him available, it's been a bit more AO manner. But the Titans offense just hasn't had answers. You go top to bottom and you compare just about every position. You go through this roster from the Texans to Tennessee, they're better across the board. I like Ward. He put up 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Jones a sack and a half against the Chargers. You're going up against a Texans offensive line that still is trying to figure themselves out. They gave up a couple sacks against Mills. I think Houston right now, if you ask them in every game the rest of the season, if you give up 2 sacks, they'd probably take that number because of the possibilities that they give up a whole lot more than that. And they have a leakage up front on the offensive line. And the semblance of a run game was there for Houston. Woody Marks, 63 yards and the touchdown. Nick Chubb, that's been the balance. That's been their backfield the entire season. That Woody Marks pickup from USC, that looks really key for them right now. He's been very good, also catching the ball out of the backfield. So 6 yards a carry against Jacksonville and 2 touchdowns on the ground. That's exactly what Houston is going to be looking for against Tennessee. Stroud, right with the concussion, is he going to be fully 100%? Probably not. If he's activated for this game and gets through the concussion protocol, then of course he's going to be okay to play. But again, what type of CJ Stroud do we see? D'Amico Ryans probably in speaking with the offense and formulating a game plan. Let's keep as much off of Stroud's plate as we can, and let's never have a game the rest of the season where our quarterback throws the football 45 times and we run the football 22 times. That type of imbalance between the run pass is unacceptable to this stage of the season. You have to retain some of that balance, because then you start to see tougher games coming up on the schedule. The Buffalo Bills, and then it's at the Colts and at the Chiefs the next 3 weeks for this Texans team. This is a vital game. They're going to get the bye week to try and get healthy right after Tennessee, but that's their season. You can get to 500, and then Bills, Colts, Chiefs, we're going to find out what Houston is. Do they have a chance? Because then there is a bit of a respite after that. Cardinals, Raiders, a chance to get 2 wins. So what I'm thinking here is you could get a win against the Titans. My prediction here on this game is I think a big dominant margin, 29-13. Houston with the win at Tennessee on the road. They pick up a nice 2-score victory. Stress-free stuff for Texans fans, completely unlike what it was a week ago, giving their fans just about a heart attack thinking that their season was over. This was a team with expectations to build off of those 2 divisional round appearances, playoff wins each of the last 2 years with their young quarterback and Stroud, and a defense developing clearly into a top 5 unit in the league, to being an AFC Championship caliber team. It's still all on the table for them. Just got to take care of business on the road against the Titans, and I believe that they do that. So thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you guys so much for tuning in to this Blitz with Blender video. Again, I'm Josh Blender, getting you ready and set for these matchups. Does Cam Ward have a vintage moment in him against one of the best defenses in the NFL? It's possible. Let me know down below in the comments if you do think it can happen, or if the Texans are just too good on that side of the ball. and maybe even 14 points could be enough to win this game. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Best player in college football.
That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blunder, hi everybody, I'm Josh Blunder.
To the 40, 35, 30, Espinosa to the 20.